Okay, so for this review, we're going to be solving systems a few different ways. The first section is about solving it using graphs. The first couple of questions, they already have the graphs done for us. So it says, what are the apparent solutions to the system of equations? Now, when they talk about the apparent solutions, they're just saying like basically estimate where the answers are. So when we look at a picture of a graph, we're going to look for anywhere where the graphs cross each other. So we're going to go ahead and pick that point there where they intersect, and then this point here. Now, drawing them is not good enough. We have to put the locations. So the first one is going to be left 2. No, actually, that's left 1. So -1. And then up 1, 2, 3. The other one looks like it's at 2, 0. And what you're going to have to be careful with on the test is they're going to try to trick you. They're going to put points all over the place, and then you have to pick the correct points. So don't fall for it, because they're going to put that point, they're going to put that point, they're going to put this point. Remember, it's where the graphs cross each other, not where the graphs cross the x and y axis. So just be careful with that. Okay, the next one looks like they cross here. So that solution is going to be at 1, 0. Okay, now we're going to have to graph it ourselves. So we can go into our graphing calculator for that. So I'm going to put in negative parentheses x minus 4, and then I'm going to square that and hit +5. Now I actually, because we're going to graph it, I'm going to head over to the tables, and then I'm going to go down until it fits on the graph paper. So it looks like the first point is at +1, -4. 4. And then the next one is at 2, 1. And then the next one after that is at 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4, 5. 5, 4. 6, 1. And then 7, -4. So that's going to be right here. So I'm going to draw the shape as good as I can. So I'm going to go like this. Whoop. Swoop down like this here. There we go. Now, I'm going to go back to the equation, and I'm going to delete that one for now, and I'll put that back later. So I'll put in now 2x minus 6. And I look at the table. These numbers are way too big, so I'm going to scroll down until I can get it to fit. So -2, -10 looks like it's the first one. I'll do this one in red. So -2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This graph only goes to 7. So I'm going to have to go to here. So 0, -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, I want to change colors, so I'm going to put this one in red. And we have 1, -4. 2, -2. 3, 0. 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. And then 5, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 6, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that line. Now you can see that the answers are going to be where the points hit each other. So these 2 points right here are going to be the answers. So we're just going to put those locations. So it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So +1, -4. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5, 4. Now, if you wanted to do this from the actual graphs, we can head over to the picture. And we can enter both graphs. So x minus 4, oops, x minus 4, close the parentheses and then square it, and then hit plus 5. So it'll show us both pictures. That's exactly what we have. And then we'll hit F5 for the G-solve. And then the fifth one right here is your intersection. So we hit that, and it shows us 1, -4, and 5, 4. So that is correct. Okay. Next one says the graph and the table form a system. So the graph already, the circle's already there, so we don't have to worry about that. So this this table over here, we just have to graph those. So I'm going to put this one here. 1, -4, 2, -5, 3, -6, 4, -7, and then 5, -8 is off the charts, but I can go ahead and put that too. I just draw my line. And the solution is anywhere where they touch, so the only spot where they touch is here. So that would be at 3, -6. Then we have a couple more where we have to graph. So let me delete my graphs. Delete, yes. F1, delete, yes. Okay, so I'm going to do this one kind of like I did the last one that we had to graph. So I'm going to put this in. I'm going to go to the table. I'll put all my points in. So menu, go to the table. So this one's going to be way too big. And this, it looks like these graphs only go to 7, so I'm going to go all the way to here. So 1, -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then the next one, 2, -3, 2, 3, 3, -2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then we're going to go down to here, and then down to here. So there's my first shape. And then we're going to go ahead and head over to, let's go back to the tables real quick, hit exit. So I'm going to delete this. I'll have to retype that in later. I just don't want to, I don't want to put in 2 at a time because it looks confusing. So I'll just delete it for a second here. And then I will enter, let's see, -3 squared -4. So we'll scroll down until we get to the 7s, +7, -7, so 0. Let me change colors. So 0, 5, 0, 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have, what's that, 1, 0. So 1, 0. 2, -3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Is that what it says? 2, 1, 2, 3. So 0, 5, 1, 0, 2, 3, 2, -3, 3, -4. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 4, -3. 5, 0. And then 6, 5. So we end up with a parabola that points up like this. So our solutions are going to be where they cross. So it's this one and this one. So our solutions are at 2, -3. Second one is at, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 4, -3. So if you want to check your answer in the graph, we can head over to the menu and go over to the graph. We can go type in the other one. So we would need to type in the first one. So -x -3 and then oh, almost forgot the squared, minus 2. So we have the same picture. G solve is F5, intersection is F5. So there's 2, -3, and there's 4, -3. So that one's all good. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I'm going to move this way so I can see. Delete these. So 2 shift x squared shift x squared, and then x plus 2, and then not minus, that minus right there. So then we got that. So there's my picture. Let me go over to the table so I can pull some of those numbers. Now you're going to see an error, and that's because there's no graph there. So we're going to scroll until there's actual numbers. So -2, -3, -1, -1. I don't want to graph the decimal, so I'll just graph the whole numbers. So 2, 1. 7, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So there's the first graph. And I'm going to go and delete that and put in my other one. Yes, and then 2x, not minus, plus 1. So I'm going down to -7. So it's -4. Let me change colors. So -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and -7. And then the table says -3, 1, 2, 3, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you're going to see you can continue using the table, but the second one is just a line. So the line's going to have a pattern where it goes up 2 and over 1. So I'll just continue that pattern. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And that's good enough because you can see it's going away from the shape now. So we're going to go like that. Oh, kind of crooked there, but that's okay. All I care about are the 2 spots where they touch. So that's going to be at this spot here and this spot here. So it looks like it's at -2, -3, and -1, -1. So just to check to make sure, I'm going to go put the other one back in. So 2 square root x plus 2. Go outside, and then -3. Got to go to, oh, that's what I wanted to show you guys. So I don't like putting in 2 at a time because then it gets kind of confusing. So that's the first graph and that's the second graph. So that's why I was doing them 1 at a time. If that doesn't bother you, you can do that. I'll head over to the graph, G solve, intersection. So I've got -2, -3, hit it to the right, and then it says -1, -1, so that's perfect. Okay, so now we're going to solve algebraically. So algebraically means kind of like without the picture. So notice how this one is gradually getting shorter and shorter as you move down. So we already have the first answer. First answer is z equals 5. So using back substitution, this is the only one I'm going to require you do by hand for the system at least, a system of 3 equations. So this one right here, we're going to go ahead and plug that back up into the problem right before. So I'm going to have y plus 2 parentheses equals 13. And I'm going to stick in that 5. So this is y plus 10 equals 13. Subtract 10, subtract 10. And then we get y equals 3. So now that we have 2 answers, then we go back up and we use this equation. So I'm going to do that over here. So 2x minus 3 parentheses plus parentheses equals 10. I'll stick in the y equals 3. Then I'll stick in the z equals 5. So this is 2x minus 9 plus 5 equals 10. -9 and 5 go together, so 2x minus 4 equals 10. Then we add 4. add 4. So we get 2x equals negative 4. Divide by 2. We get x equals negative 2. So our final answer has to be written kind of like a point. So it'll be negative 2, comma 3, comma 5. Okay, the next one, it's got an exponent, so I'm going to try to do some y equals stuff. So I'm going to take the bottom one and solve it for y. So I'm going to subtract 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x here. So this is negative y equals negative 2x plus 2. Then I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. So y equals 2x minus 2. So usually we just put the y equals, we're going to put usually the equations equal to each other. But because this one has the square on it, it's going to work out kind of weird. So we're going to have to substitute in 2x minus 2 squared and set that equal to 8x minus 1. Now, when we have these problems with exponents, we don't want these parentheses here. So I'm going to have to take this and write it twice and multiply it out. I'm going to need some more space, so let me scoot that down. So when I multiply the first two, that's 4x squared. Multiply the next two, that's minus 4x. Multiply these two, and that's minus 4x again. And then multiply these two, and that's plus 4. So if I simplify this, this is 4x squared minus 8x plus 4. And then if I clear these parentheses and multiply, that gives me 8x minus 8. Now this has an exponent, so I'm going to subtract 8x. Subtract 8x here, and then I'm going to add 8 to this one. So I'll add 8 here. So this is 4x squared minus 16x plus 12. So because it's now equal to 0, now we're ready to put it into the calculator. So I'm going to head over to the solver. I'm going to use the polynomial solver. It's degree 2. So I'll put in 4, negative 16, and 12. That should spit out 2 answers. So the answers are x equals 3 and x equals 1. Now when I solve this, I want to put it into the shortest answer that I have. So this one right here, this one's going to be the shortest one I have. It's got the least amount of stuff, no exponents or anything. So I'm going to go and plug that in. So I'll have y equals 2, what is that? 3 minus 2. So that's 6 take away 2, so that's 4. So the first answer is 3 comma 4. And then the second answer is going to be y equals 2 parentheses minus 2. We'll stick the 3 in there. Oh, actually not the 3. I already did the 3. We're going to stick the 1 in there. That's why I have it underneath the 1. So 2 take away 2 is 0. So the other answer is 1 comma 0. Now technically you can check your answers, but the only thing about the answer for the first equation is you can't plug it in to your calculator if it's a y squared. So what you would have to do is you would have to square root everything. And what that does is anytime you square root something, it actually gives you 2 answers. It gives you a positive square root of 8x minus 1, and then it gives you a negative square root of 8x minus 1. Now the reason why I broke it up like that is because our calculator doesn't have a plus or minus button. So if we were going to plug this into the calculator to check our answer, we would actually have to plug in 3 equations. We would plug in this one, and this one. And then we can do the F5 stuff to see where they cross each other. Okay. Next. Okay, so now we're looking at problems. This one doesn't have any exponents. So this is going to be the elimination method. Now for elimination, we have to get everything lined up. It should go x's, y's, equal signs, and then numbers with no letters on them. So I've got the x's lined up. This equal sign is messed up. And then these guys they're not in the right place. So I'm going to take this y and I want to move it over to this x. So I'm going to add 3y. So add 3y here. So now this is going to say x plus 3y equals -3. And then I'm going to take the second equation, which technically is that first top one. So I'm going to bring that down. So x plus 3y equals 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, let's see, I'll get the x's to cancel. So to get these to cancel, I'll have to multiply this by -1. So that's going to make this -x minus 3y equals -3. The top one, I don't have to touch it. So this one's going to be x plus 3y equals -3. Now the reason why I had to make that a negative is because this one's a positive and this one's a positive. So I need it to be a negative in order for it to cancel. Then I can finally put these together. So this cancels, so the left side is equal to 0. And then this right here is -6. So we have an issue. All the letters went away. If all the letters went away, there's one of two answers that you can write. And it depends on what's left. So if you look at what's left, that's clearly not true. 0 does not equal 6. So in this case, we would say there's no solution. That would be our answer. Now the other possibility is everything would cancel and it would say 0 equals 0. So if your leftover stuff once everything cancels is the same, then we would say infinite solutions. And what that means is, so let me talk about no solution first. That just means that your two lines, they're parallel. So that means they're never going to cross. If you had let's say you had infinite solutions happens when, let me make this line a little thicker. The first line goes like this, and then the second line lands directly on top of it. So infinite solutions is when they're always intersecting. On the test, there usually isn't a lot of answers that are no solution or infinite solution. So if any, there could be just one. Okay, next one. Next one has an exponent, so we're going to do y equals for both of them. So I'm going to put 3 plus 3x here. So y equals 3x minus 4. I'm going to put a box around that so I don't lose that. Then I'm going to do the second one. X squared plus x minus y equals 12. I'm going to subtract the x squared. So I'll subtract x squared over here. I'm going to subtract x. So I'll subtract x over here. So I'll be left with -y equals -x squared minus x plus 12. Then I have to divide by -1. I don't want that y to be negative. So I divide everything by -1. And all that does is flip the signs. So that's now a positive x squared, a positive x, and a minus 12. So I'll put that one in the box. Now these ones are nice because they're both y equals, so we can just set them equal to each other. So I'll put x squared plus x minus 12 equals 3x minus 4. Then I'll subtract 3x, and then add 4. Add 4 to that one. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. And I can go to my solver. And I'm going to put in 1, put in 1, -2, and -8. And it tells me the answers are 4 and -2. So I always like to plug them into the shorter equation. Usually the one without exponents is going to be the shortest one. So I'm going to do y equals 3 parentheses minus 4. I'm going to do that over here too because it's always the same equation that you put it into. So in the first one, I'll put in the 4. So I end up with 12 take away 4 is 8. So that means that the first answer is 4 comma 8. And then I'll put in the -2 right here. So this is -6 minus 4, so that's -10. Second answer is -2 comma -10. And if you want, you can also check in the calculator because these both say y equals, so we can put those into the graphs to verify. Just do that real quick. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. So 3x minus 4. The second one is x squared plus x minus 12. Graph both of them. We hit G solve, F5 again. So -210. There's one of them. -2, -10. And then the second one is at 4.8. So that checks out. Okay, this one looks like it's kind of like the one we just did. So I'm going to subtract 2x, -y equals -2x minus 1, divide by -1, divide by -1, divide by -1. So y equals 2x plus 1. There's one answer. Then I'm going to do the other one. So 3x squared plus 4x minus y equals 7. Subtract 3x squared. Subtract 4x. So I get -y equals -3x squared minus 4x plus 7. Then I divide by -1. And that just flips all the signs. So y equals 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. So there's my two y equals. So that means I can set them equal to each other. So 3x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 2x plus 1. So I'll subtract 2x, and then I'll subtract 1. So I get 3x, that's a minus. So 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Then I can go to my solver, menu solver, F2, F1. So I'll hit 3, 2, and -8. So it tells me that one answer is x equals 4/3. And then it tells me that the other answer is -2. Now when I go back and plug them in, I always plug them into the one that doesn't have the exponents because it's a lot shorter. So that's going to be y equals 2 parentheses plus 1. Y equals 2 parentheses plus 1. So I put in the 4/3. So I can just go into the regular calculator for that. 2 parentheses 4/3. Close the parentheses, plus 1. Oops, forgot the 1. Plus 1. So 11/3 is y. So that means the answer is 4. Second, the answer right here is 4/3 and 11/3. And then over here I put in -2. So -2 times 2 is -4 plus 1. So that's -3. So the other answer is -2, -3. And you can always, because these are y equals, you can go into the graphs and you can check them. But I'm going to save some time on this video, so I'm going to just move on to the next one. Okay, the next one is nice because it already says y equals, but this one has the parentheses, so we're going to have to work that out. We can never have the parentheses when we're doing these problems. So if I multiply that, that's x squared. Multiply that, that's -5x. Multiply that, that's another -5x. Multiply that, and that's plus 25. Then we had that extra plus 4 right there, so I'm going to put that back down. Combine all of my like terms, that's -10x and plus 29 equals y. So we're going to use that one, and we're going to use this one. So we set them equal to each other, so x squared minus 10x plus 29 equals -x plus 15. We're going to add x, and then subtract 15, and subtract 15. So we end up with x squared minus 9x, and that's plus 14 equals 0. Now once we get that 0, that's when we go into our solver. Anything with exponents can go into our polynomial solver. So I got 1, negative 9, and 14. So I get x equals 7 and x equals 2. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that into the top one here, since it doesn't have any exponents. So I have y equals negative parentheses plus 15. Y equals negative parentheses plus 15. So we're going to put in a 7 here. So negative 7 plus 15 is 8. So 7 comma 8 is one of the answers. And then the other one looks like it's going to be y equals negative 2 plus 15 is 13. So the second answer is 2 comma 13. Again, because these say y equals, you can always go back into your calculators and check using the G-solve button, and then you hit F5 for the intersection. Okay, so now systems, it says use the method of your choice. Now, I showed you that you can do this by hand, but it takes up a lot of stuff. And basically what you would do is like you would get 2 letters to cancel. So like we could combine these right away and get those x's to cancel. And then maybe we could do these 2 together and multiply that top one by 4 to get those x's to cancel. And then the process starts all over. You're going to have 2 problems with a y and a z only. And then you try to get either the y or the z to cancel. And then you do back substitution. But I showed you guys a much faster way. We're going to go into our equation solver. And we're going to go all the way back to this screen. And when we want to solve a lot of problems at once, we hit simultaneous, so F1. This has 3 unknowns. So I'm going to clear all that stuff. And then we just enter basically the numbers in front. So it'd be 1, 1, 1, and 2, negative 1, 3, 2, and 8. And then when we get down to that last one, I'll talk about that when I get there. So 1, 1, 1, 2, and then we have negative 1, and then we have positive, oops, it says syntax error because I didn't type the 1, and now it's coming out backwards, so let me just start over. So negative 1, 3, and then 2. This thing is not very responsive to when I type it. So on this last one, you'll notice that there's a 4x, a y, but no z, so we have to enter in a 0. So y is 1. Z is 0 because z is missing. And then 4. And then enter. So there's our answers. It's 0, 4, and negative 2. So 0, 4, negative 2. So these ones should be relatively quick. So I'll hit exit and I'll clear that out. The next one would be 2, 3, negative 2, and then 4, and then negative 2, negative 1, negative 1 for that z, and then negative 14, and then 3, negative 1, 2, and then positive 14. So then we've got 2, 4, and 6. 2, 4, and 6 for our final answer. Okay, and then the next one, let's see, let's go back. I'm going to clear this out. So again, you have to pay attention to where your missing letters are because that's going to impact where you put your 0. So this has an x, so x is negative 2 in front. It doesn't have a y, so that one's going to be 0. Z is negative 2, and then the answer is 4. This one has the x, so in front of x is negative 1. In front of that y is a positive 1. In front of the z has a negative 3, and then the answer is negative 6. So we'll put negative 6 there. Then the next one is 3. And then what's going on here? 3 again. Then 1. And then negative 14. So negative 604. Now, if you ever get something that says like math error, double check that you typed everything in right. And if you did type everything in right, that just means there's no solution. Okay, and then finally it says, given the system, describe the row operations you would use to create an equation that eliminates y using row 1 and row 2. So we got to start off by, I'm going to go ahead and label my rows. So this is row 1, row 2, and row 3. This question said absolutely nothing about row 3, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And then it says eliminate the y's, so I'm going to get rid of these x's. I want to be careful not to get rid of those signs because those signs are kind of important. And now I'm going to get rid of everything else. So this just enhances our focus so we can figure out what we need to multiply by. So in order for this to cancel, that first one needs a negative 3. Right now it has a positive 1, so I need to take row 1 and multiply it by negative 3. The second one, I don't need to touch it because once I put that negative 3 there, a negative 3 and a plus 3 would cancel. So I'll put plus row 2, and that's my answer. Okay, number 17. Number 17, let's see, it's the same kind of question. And that question, let's see, it says eliminate z using row 1 and row 3. So let me label the rows again before I cancel stuff. So row 1, row 2, and row 3. They said nothing about row 2, so I'll get rid of this one. And they want us to cancel the z's, so I'll get rid of this x, and I'll get rid of this stuff. I'll get rid of all of this, and then I'll get rid of that. So this one, in order to cancel those z's, we already have the plus and minus, so that's good. But on this one, we're going to need 2 in front of this. So that means row 3 needs a 2. Now, row 1, we're going to leave that one alone. I'll put that one first. I like to put these in order, row 1 and then row 3. And then I don't need to change any signs, so this would just be a plus. And then that would be an answer. Now, I think, yeah, they didn't put review questions on this, so there is going to be some review. And I don't know, maybe I'll make a different video to cover the review stuff, just so you can remember how to do that stuff. So that's the video for the basic stuff, I should say the new stuff. So hopefully this one goes very, very well.